Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, there's something out there that we reported on a couple of weeks ago that apparently all of the rest of the mainstream media completely and totally missed out there, because as you are probably well aware, especially if you watch this channel and catch all of our videos, you already know that Kevin Feige said no to an Eternals sequel out there, boys and girls, and apparently now the rest of Hollywood and apparently the rest of the mainstream legacy media out there is caught up, and of course all of those simps for the spirit of the age are having an absolute meltdown over a movie that was a disastrous dumpster fire that even the critics hated, although we were all confused of review bombing it, and it was an absolute disrespect to the great legend that was Jack Kirby that created the Eternals to begin with. And that's exactly what we're gonna make fun of today, boys and girls, because we are all about making shame great again over here on this channel, and these people deserve to be shamed for all of their lies, all of their BS, and their absolute nonsense, because we were accused of the worst possible things in the world out there, with every excuse in the world being made up for how disastrous of a dumpster fire this movie was, how poorly it did at the box office, and how poorly it even was reviewed with the critics. But of course it was all of the fans' fault out there, right? It was all the Marvel fans out there. You were accused of review bombing, time and time again, even though it literally had nothing to do with us. Marvel made something that fans had no desire to see about a bunch of characters that are, of course, all of us Kirby fans out there know and love, but the majority of the mainstream audience has no idea what they're about. So, of course, Disney Marvel under Kevin Feige and Bob Iger decided that this was the perfect vehicle they to use to push their agenda. And guess what? It blew up in their face. And now all the wokies and all the weirdos and all the people possessed by the spirit of the age out there on the internet are freaking out and melting down over something that was simply nothing more than their own fault. So we're going to share this article from ScreenRant.com, make fun of all of these people out there having an absolute meltdown, and of course show exactly why all of their arguments are complete and total BS when it comes to the surrounding of this movie. And guess what? At the end of the day, the audience rejected it, and that's what happens when you do things that disrespect the actual lore, the source material, and most of all, the fans out there. So we're going to check out this article from ScreenRant.com, getting all of the juicy details, and see exactly what all of these weirdos out there on the internet have to say, because apparently none of them showed up or took their friends to the movie theater based on the box office numbers. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, because boys and girls, we are inching our way closer and closer to 1,200 over here on YouTube and almost 900 on Rumble, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below and let us know if you're disappointed that there's not going to be an Eternals 2 movie, or if you're just like the rest of us that didn't go see this, and thank God for all of us for that. So, from ScreenRant.com, Marvel fans rally around Eternals after disappointing sequel. Reports reemerge. Exactly. Reemerge, because as I pointed out at the beginning of this video, right here, you can see this lovely video. Sequel never happening. Marvel admits defeat. CEO Kevin Feige says no to Eternals ever happening. Like I said, apparently those that aren't subscribed to my channel didn't keep up with what was going on. Disappointed Marvel fans have expressed frustration over reports that there may be no Eternal sequel. It's not that there are reports that there are no Eternal sequel. It literally came out of Kevin Feige's mouth that there are no plans for an Eternal sequel. Several fans have rallied for Eternals 2 following this, feeling a cosmos-spanning sequel is a missed opportunity. Fans hope for the Eternals to return in future MCU releases. What fans? The Twitter stands that accused us all of review bombing this movie time and time again, including you, Screen Rant? Or how about comicbookresources.com, CBR, Eternal Star reacts to the film's anti-LGBTQ review bombing. And then, of course, over here from the direct as all well, Marvel's Eternals gets review bombed for LGBTQ plus relationship. Oh, yes. It's all you evil fans out there, you racists, you homophobes, you Texans. It's all your fault this movie failed and is not getting a sequel. Oh, really? Oh, really? Because at the end of the day, boys and girls, the truth paints a very much different picture and a much different perception. But of course, the truth is something they are not interested in, only their agenda. Because the truth is this right here. 400 417 reviews from the critics. And for all the stands, for all the simps, for all the screen rants, the CBRs, and the directs that tried to just literally just throw a shower of this movie in praise, even you guys said this movie was abysmal. A 47%, and that's all critics, right? That's anybody out there who's ever reviewed a movie or a television show even once on their blog or on a video on YouTube or anywhere else, and they meet whatever requirements Rotten Tomatoes asks of them. But the top critics, you know, the ones that work for Screen Rant and The Direct and The Hollywood Reporter and Variety and all those places that accuse you of being a racist, a homophobe, and everything else for not wanting to go see the Eternals movie, yeah, a 36%. 36%. Explain to me who review bombed this movie again, because we've got a verified audience score with over 10,000 reviews with a 77%. The all audience score, 71% with a 25,000 plus ratings. Now, if you were truly going to see any kind of evidence of the false flag argument they make about review bombing, the all audience score is where you would see it. But even the all audience score is better than the all critic score. So tell me why this movie failed again at the box office absolutely miserably with a domestic gross of $164 million total domestic gross in the entire time it was in the theater. Literally what? Deadpool and Wolverine made that in what? 2 weeks? International, 236 for a global worldwide of 401. This movie lost money. So exactly whose fault is it that it failed again? But of course, the truth doesn't actually matter to any of these weirdos out there because that doesn't fit their agenda and the truth doesn't matter. So the Variety has reported that Marvel is reportedly not developing a sequel for Eternals 2, following Kevin Feige's July interview with Inverse. There are no immediate plans for Eternals 2. Well, Eternals saw mixed reactions. Mixed reactions? Mixed reactions? The critics hated this movie. Mixed reactions, huh? Mixed reactions. But we were the ones being accused of the racists and the homophobes. Of course. So, of course, all of the stands that, based on the box office, clearly did not go and show up to see it domestically or take their friends or go for a viewing, says, Jacob here. I am Jacob. Eternals made around the same as the first Dune and did really well on Disney Plus, so we deserve a sequel. But this is a false argument with false premises because Dune got a day and date release on HBO Max at the time and was one of their number one day and date releases on the streaming service. Eternals didn't show up on the Disney Plus until long after its theatrical release. So yeah, once again, a false argument, but once again, the truth doesn't actually matter to these people. Marvel Studios scrapping Eternals 2 feels like a mistake. Like most COVID-era movies, the original underperformed, yet it was beautifully crafted. Really? Because Dune would have done even twice as well if it wasn't for the day and date release. And even then, it was the COVID. Explain Spider-Man No Way Home, literally just a couple of months later, making over $1 billion at the box office. Yeah, that argument falls flat as well. Believably acted, and Celestials were breathtaking. No cosmic spanning sequel is a missed opportunity. Oh, it was beautifully crafted and believably acted. So why did the simps for the Spirit of the Age, the people who literally make their money via access, gave it a 47%? Methinks you may be gaslighting. Ban Luan says, I hope they come back in a later saga where the X-Men play a central role. The Eternals come back at some point and create a Judgment Day event. It would be epic. Yeah, that's not going to happen. The best any of you can hope for is a cameo But most likely, just like Kevin Feige dodges every single question he can about this movie as much as he possibly can, no matter how many times the people who literally gave it a 47% score, those excess media people on the red carpet, ask him about a sequel to satisfy all their simps for the spirit of the age out there on social media, they are part of the reason why this movie failed miserably, because they roasted it, they review bombed it far harder than anyone out there in the audience could have ever possibly done. But of course, at the end of the day, the truth doesn't matter to any of you. Only the agenda and the narrative you can craft. Fortunately enough, there are so many people out there now who are willing to pull up the receipts and call you out for the BS. I am just a very small voice in that giant tsunami that is drowning out your nonsense and guaranteeing an Eternals 2 will never ever happen. And that who knows, the MCU might have even turned itself around. Well, this guy says Eternals, one of my favorite Marvel movies. Too bad it came at the wrong time. Oh, yes, it's COVID's fault. It's the review bombing's fault. It couldn't possibly be because of the fact that when you decide to concentrate on a bunch of immutable characteristics and decide to do your writing and your storytelling and your movies and television shows by making sure you check a bunch of boxes first, it's funny how storytelling always seems to end up taking a back seat. Because even for all of the diversity and even for all the virtue signaling, even though you said this movie was going to save lives, what all of that virtue signaling and all of that stuff couldn't do is add up to even a decent score from the critics, let alone any kind of box office results. So blame COVID, blame all of us racist phobes on the internet. But at the end of the day, you want to know why the Eternals failed? And why it's not getting a sequel? It's pretty simple. All you have to do is look at yourselves. Because your access media, all of your spirit of the age pushers out there that have convinced you this is the new hot thing and you should love it because of the diversity and that it's going to save lives, are all lying to you. They're all virtue signaling too. Because otherwise, why does this have an abysmal score from those same simps of the spirit of the age just like you? Because the audience was right. People like me and so many others out there that called this movie out before it even came out, based strictly on all of the diversity, nonsense marketing, and forced inclusion we saw in this movie from the very beginning. We knew that this movie was going to be bad. And guess what? The critics agree with us more than the all-audience score. So explain to me again, who's the racist? Who's the homophobe? Was it just COVID? Or was the fact that your DEI checkboxing doesn't equal out to a good movie that sells with the general audience? I know. Because you're on the right side of history. You're the future of things. That couldn't possibly be the answer, could it? Because you're the good guy. You couldn't possibly be a villain in this story, now could you? Well, that's okay, boys and girls, because at the end of the day, we are winning. The pendulum is swinging back, and Eternals 2 will never, ever happen. And I think it's a good thing for all of us. And maybe the Eternals 2 not happening, or maybe it won't save any lives. But you know what Eternals did do? It ruined the careers and the future of a lot of good quality actors and good quality people involved in the MCU. Fortunately enough for all of the fans out there, go woke, go broke still holds true. And even over at Disney Marvel, 2 + 2 still equals 4. And a disastrous dumpster fire that was hated by the critics, despised by the audiences, and made zero money is not getting a sequel. Yes, the world is healing, and at the end of the day, you get exactly what you deserve.